Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today, let's show you exactly what the Eagles would need to do to move up in the first round of the NFL Draft. Who they should trade with, what it would cost, and who could they go ahead and get. Before we start, if the Eagles should trade up to go ahead and get a superstar player like a linebacker, a wide receiver, or a corner, give this video a thumbs up. Also, we're approaching 6,000 subscriptions, which is crazy. We're growing at a great rate here. Subscribe down below if you've not subscribed already. The fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so where is this idea of trading up in the NFL Draft coming from? Well, it's coming from our GM, Howie Roseman, straight from his mouth. While he was at the NFL Combine this past week, meeting with media and reporters and talking to people, he said this, quote, "There were moments in the last two drafts when there were guys within trading up distance, within reach, that we wanted to move up for, and we just didn't have the ammunition to do it. So if there is a guy that we thought that was, if there was a guy that we thought was an incredibly high valued, and we'd go up and go get him, we couldn't take that off of the table." Now, that's not anything groundbreaking. That's what most teams would want to do, is trade up to go ahead and get their guy. But most teams are unable to do so. The Eagles this year are able to do so because they have 10 draft picks in this year's draft. Last 2 years, I mean, the 10 draft picks is double what they had the last 2 years. They have a ton of ammunition. We're finally seeing the year that we actually have our draft picks not based off of what happened with Carson Wentz. So I'm trying to remember that. So you go back a couple of years, you gave up all that ammunition to go ahead and get Carson Wentz. The next couple of drafts suffered. That is what I meant to say. This draft right here is the first one without the Carson Wentz-less picks, I should say. That's why you have 10. We've also made some great deals during the offseason to get us to 10 overall picks. You got to go back to trading back in a couple of rounds past couple of years. That has been able to acquire us 10 picks overall. So the question is not if they will trade up. The question is where and when they could trade up to, sitting at number 21 currently in the first round. Well, here's the deal. The Browns at number 10 makes sense, and let me exactly explain why. So, in the first 8 picks, you have a bunch of teams that either need pass rushers, linebackers, or quarterbacks. You got teams like, obviously, the Dolphins, obviously the Detroit Lions, who could be in the mix for a pass rusher or a quarterback, the Redskins, the Bengals. You also have teams like the Panthers and the Chargers, who we are expecting to go ahead and get quarterbacks. And if they don't, they're probably going to go ahead and get pass rushers or linebackers, mostly defensive players in the first 8. Now, in the first 7. Number 8 sits Arizona. Arizona's a little bit of a wild card, that we expect them to go ahead and take an offensive tackle because that was their biggest weakness last year, not being able to protect Kyler Murray. So, when we go ahead and look at 9 through 19 is kind of where I want to dive into here, where the Eagles could trade up, because they're not trading into the top 8. Let's just get that out of the way. Unless, the only scenario I could see the Eagles trading into the top 8 would be if Chase Young starts to free fall, which I don't see happening at all. Obviously, the star pass rusher out of Ohio State. The furthest I see him falling is to 4 or 5. The Eagles are not going into the top 5. Now, if he's there at 8, maybe you make a deal to go ahead and come up and get a guy like Chase Young, because he is a generational type pass rusher. But again, that is a dream scenario that's not going to happen. Let's get Chase Young out of our minds. So, when we look at where the Eagles could go, it makes sense one of a couple of spots. So the first spot is number 10 with the Cleveland Browns, because that's one behind the Jaguars. Now you could go to number 9 with the Jaguars, but I think the Jaguars want to stay put and go ahead and take the best player available right there to go ahead and help out either Gardner Minshew or Nick Foles or someone else. So you go to 10, the Browns make a lot of sense. The Browns are not what they usually are in terms of they have a ton of needs at a ton of different places. The Browns can really go best player available at number 10, or they can trade back and get more picks and kind of rebuild after what they gave up to go ahead and acquire Odell Beckham Jr. Now, here's what 10 does. You go up to number 10 from 21. That puts you ahead of the Jets, the Raiders, and the Colts, who are sitting there at 11, 12, and 13. Here's the problem. If the Eagles want to move up, it's most likely for either Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker, who just ran like a 4.39 at the Combine this weekend at Clemson. I mean, incredible linebacker, best in the draft. They're either moving up for him, or they're moving up, as we all expect, for a wide receiver. Now, there are 3 wide receivers that are better than the rest, according to most draft people that you talk to. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs. Those are your top 3 projected wide receivers. Now, we can argue about Laviska Shenault, so he has a core muscle injury, or Denzel Mims with a great combine, but still not really a number or a first-round wide receiver. There are other really good wide receivers in this draft, Jalen Reagor, but those are your top 3. The Browns, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Colts, guess what? They all need wide receivers. Every single one of them needs wide receivers. The Colts, we've argued about this before on this channel. People saying that T.Y. Hilton is an elite receiver. He's been injured. He's getting up there in age. The Colts did not have someone catch over 600 yards worth of passes from Jacoby Brissett last year. They need a wide receiver. The Jets, for sure, they're going to lose Robbie Anderson in free agency. They need a young target for Sam Darnold. We know the Raiders are very much interested in getting a wide receiver for either Derek Carr or Tom Brady, maybe there at number 12. And as we said about the Colts, they need a wide receiver too. So 10 makes perfect sense if you want to get Jeudy, Lamb, or Ruggs. Now, let's say the Raiders or the Colts do not take Jeudy, Lamb, or Ruggs, and one of those three is available at 14. You could move up to number 14, where the Bucs are currently sitting. That is one ahead of the Broncos, and go ahead and make a deal with them. That way you could swoop in and grab a Henry Ruggs or someone else, because Denver at 15 is probably the lowest fall point that you could see one of the top 3 wide receivers go ahead and make it to. I'd be shocked if Denver does not go wide receiver. They could go somewhere else, and again, the draft varies based on who falls and who's there and whatever your draft board looks like. But Denver at 15 and the Raiders at 19 are the final 2 landing spots for these top 3 receivers. I'm telling you, Ruggs, Jeudy, and Lamb, they're not making it out of the top 15. If they do, the Raiders will grab one of them at 19. So, the whole point of this video is to show you, we all talk about how great these 3 wide receivers are. If you want one of the 3, that is, if you don't want Jalen Reagor or Denzel Mims or Laviska Shenault, if you want to get one of the top 3, you're going to have to move up. The Browns at 10 and the Bucs at 14 make the most sense in terms of going up and getting a wide receiver that you need. I would be all for this. I think the Browns at 10 makes perfect sense. Let the Eagles decide if they like Lamb, Jeudy, or Ruggs more. Whoever is their favorite, you grab, and you have Carson Wentz, a top 10 wide receiver, top 10 pick in this draft for a weapon for the next 10 years. It's beautiful. Now, the problem, Thomas, by asking, what is it going to cost to move up this high? Well, I'm here to go ahead and explain it to you. So how the NFL draft works, it's quite interesting, actually. The NFL draft has each team, they rank, or the NFL draft, I guess, ranks each draft pick in terms of points. So, like, a number 5 overall pick is rated higher, obviously, than number 21 overall pick. So teams can then go, all right, if we're sitting at pick number 7, and someone's trading us pick number 31, 54, and 124, you add the 3 points together, and then does it make up this pick's amount of points? If it does, it's a fair trade. That's how teams try and figure this whole thing out. The problem is, trading up from 21 to 10 is a very big point differential. Like, you'd probably have to give up a first, a second, and a third to go ahead and do that. Now, the Eagles have one second, 2 thirds, and 1 first in this draft, so technically they could do it, but then you give up your second-round draft pick overall. You're picking late on day 2 in the 3rd round. So a first, a second, a third to go up to number 10. If you don't like that, you could do a first and possibly a future first. So you would give up just 2 first and keep your second and third round draft pick, because again, the numbers, the points line up to where 2 first or 2 future first makes sense to go ahead and go up to number 10. It is not cheap, to trade up in the NFL draft. It is not cheap at all, and to get into the top 10 is even more expensive. So I'd rather trade with the Bucs, but I don't think the guys are going to be there that we want at number 14 overall. So I wanted to kind of show you guys how this is going to work, because I think the Eagles need to do this. They need to get a wide receiver. If you like Reagor, if you like Mims, if you like Shenault, I understand waiting. And there's a very real conversation we can have about the Eagles taking a cornerback or a linebacker or a pass rusher or a center, I don't know, a number 21, and waiting for a Mims or waiting for a Reagor or waiting for a Shenault in the 2nd round. But those guys are not guaranteed to do so. There are so many good wide receivers that had crazy good times. Denzel Mims from Baylor was supposed to be a 4th-round draft pick and has jumped all the way up to either late 1st round or early 2nd round. He might not be there. The Eagles, I don't think, can risk waiting till day 2 to get the best wide receiver available who might not actually be that good. They need to get one of ones they are for sure guaranteed going to be a surefire hit in the National Football League, because Wentz needs weapons now. Like, we don't have time for 3-4 years down the line. He might turn into a number 2. We need weapons now that can really dominate. Now, again, when you look at previous first-round draft picks who were wide receivers, some were really good, like Odell Beckham Jr., some were like Calvin Ridley, who are good, but they're not true number 1s, even though Atlanta gave a lot to go ahead and move up to get him. So it's a risky business. That's how the NFL draft works, but I think this makes a ton of sense in order for Philadelphia to move up and go ahead and get one of these guys, because Howie Roseman said they are going to be very, very aggressive in free agency and aggressive in the NFL draft. Don't be surprised if the Eagles spend big money in free agency, get a wide receiver, get a corner, maybe get a cheap linebacker, fill a lot of needs, and then go to the NFL draft and say, we have 10 picks, package them, move up, we're going to get Lamb, we're going to get Ruggs, we're going to get Jeudy. If I had to pick one of the 3, I would get Jeudy or Lamb. I think Ruggs is the third best wide receiver in this draft. He's behind Lamb and Jeudy. You can kind of go 1A, 1B, however you want to rank those. Now, I know what Ruggs ran at the 40. It's stupid fast. But how many super fast combine wide receivers have been real stars in the National Football League? Like John Ross, remember him? He broke the combine record. What's he doing right now? See, right? So, again, if we pick Ruggs, I'll be excited because we need explosive wide receiver, but I would trust more the Jeudy or the CeeDee Lamb, a little bit more complete in terms of their abilities in the National Football League. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like the idea of trading up, what would you be willing to give? And if we did trade up, which player would you want to get? Isaiah Simmons, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, somebody else? Let me know in the comment section down below. Before we go, thumbs up this video. If you like the idea of just moving up, how about that? Also subscribe down below. If you're still watching, 10 minutes in, you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? We're the best Eagles channel on YouTube. Click the red subscribe button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. That we grow. The more subs we do, the more live Q&As we can do, the more videos we can do during the week, the more time I can put into this channel. Might even do a podcast, so thumbs up for that. All the time we have for today. I think we're going to have a really fun offseason, guys. Stay tuned for all the latest news and rumors here on the Eagles Report. Thomas Mott signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Did you like that video? Thanks for watching, but why don't you click this video right here, because we did it just a couple of days ago, and guess what? It's about the Eagles too. Like that video? Why don't you subscribe right down here? That way you're notified whenever we release more videos here on the Eagles Report. It's the fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. Video, subscribe, click them right now. Go ahead, click them.